Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Up Missoula. I'm your host, Scott Raff, here to usher you into April 11th, 2025. It is a wonderful morning. The library is going to be open for Project Community Connect. This is an event that goes from about 10 a.m. to about 3 p.m. in the afternoon. All the service providers for people who are struggling to find homes and who are homeless, or people who are suffering just to stay in their homes. Project Community Connect is a great resource, and it's a one day out of the year hosted here at the Missoula Public Library to help those in need. So you guys can check that out. That's happening today from 10 to 3 p.m. If you're seeing this replay this afternoon, it's going to have about another hour left. So we're going to jump right in, and we're going to talk about some things that are happening in and around the city of Missoula, some levies that are being proposed from MCPS and more. But we're going to jump into the city of Missoula as they talk about some rezoning and annexation of California Street. So California Street is the main focus of City Council in this particular one, and the California Street Bridge, especially on the south side of the bridge, where they're going to be developing that particular area as it's adjacent to Wyoming Street, all those developments that are happening there next to Silver Park. Chase Hakes, the senior planner for the city of Missoula, talks about the properties adjacent to the California Street Bridge. And so here is a look, and here's a lot of information going to be thrown right at you.
Here is a high-level idea of what the plan calls out for the area, similar to the goals of the urban mixed-use low place type. It calls out an emphasis on missing middle housing, diverse housing options, obviously, including some opportunities for some mixed-use development and encouraging connections to the river. It also mentions additional opportunity for green space and some sort of riparian buffer or green activity space between any development and the river. There's still a few small sections of very low density zoning left over in the area, but we've been seeing a few rezones just south of the property to B2-2 to start aligning better with what was laid out as far as the previous growth policy and now the new land use plan.
Okay, so as you could see there, they're working on what they want to do, what they want to envision this particular site. If we go to here, we can kind of have an idea. This is the old sawmill district. If you take a closer look in this particular area, Silver Park, still developing it as they develop many of the other properties. A big portion of the sawmill district hasn't been completed yet, so most of this stuff right here is just getting developed. And then as we look further up here, this is a big part of it too, because they're looking into improving a lot of what the so-called riverfront property, and just trying to figure out what they're going to do with that. And mind you, California Street Pedestrian Bridge gets its name simply because it looks like the Golden Gate Bridge out of California. It also connects to Silver Park with the 65 feet being the cap of height. They really want to build upwards of 6 floors with the urban mullets, as I've called them, where you have businesses opportunities on the ground level with apartments on top with condos and other things for sale. This is part of the Missoula's growth policy to build higher density in these kind of general areas. So Joe Denart with IMEG Engineering, developer, talks about the rezoning further, and staying on top of compliance is one of the reasons why they want to rezone.
Rezoning requests take a significant amount of time. Up to this point, I think the process began over 2 years ago, and we had multiple meetings with the city to determine the best path forward in terms of existing policy compliance. Additionally, the rezone application actually had to be updated after passing the first completeness review because of the newly adopted land use plan.
And one thing to note as well is that they're consistently updating these plans. They've had a 12-month stay on a rezoning update based on the Montana state law. So there's a lot of things going on that moving forward, and I'm going to let it continue.
Which changed the designation for this area from residential medium to urban mixed use low. A bit more long form answer to the why question is it's really rooted in the history between the landowner and the city here. mainly because the landowner has expressed the desire and the need for higher density housing capabilities on their property for the better part of a decade. It really took the formal adoption of the downtown master plan and the inclusion of the property into the larger Wyoming Street neighborhood in 2019 to get the policy at least on board in some sense with the landowner's vision.
And 'tis the season for major development in the Missoula area. And so as we move on, this item continues to address city's master plan and the overall patience of the landowner who has been waiting for the development boom, essentially, in Missoula to maximize their land use. You know, I expect more of the Wyoming Street type buildings, but this rezoning in advance to development that will take time before the actual groundbreaking of these particular properties. There's no guarantee that it's going to look a lot like what they're doing there, but they have the opportunity to build inward and upward, very much like having the ability to have the 6 floors, like I mentioned. Troy Monroe, city engineer, talks about infrastructure in the riverfront property and how it pertains to not only California Street, but also the future of River Road.
In a normal situation, yes, River Road would have additional full, complete streets placed upon it at the time of development adjacent to the development. California Street definitely will. We would have to discuss more with our long-term transportation planners and everyone else about will River Road be shifting in the future to where we wouldn't want to put that infrastructure in at this time. But if that was the case, then yes, development would be required to put in the complete streets along River Road frontage. However, this development can access all of the pedestrian necessities from California Street and Idaho Street. So there is a possibility that we would postpone those improvements on River Road until that time that River Road is reconstructed.
Yeah, and a big part of that has to do with the fact that it's on one side of the bridge, as River Road kind of extends quite a distance on the, in an interesting part of the Clark Fork River frontage, just in general. So this section brings up a lot of issues on the River Road access areas, but so far they want to make sure that this project is set and frankly only affects this portion of the River Road, California Street, as it pertains to the California Street crossing. It's small, but it's segregated from the rest of River Road, which needs the major redevelopment. And the city has presented plans on this in this particular bulk area, but not getting major development deal for the federal funding to be put in place this pretty far down the line of a to-do list. So the rezoning passed and the annexation of 400 California Street, which was also on the docket for this particular thing. So California Street, there's a lot of things happening there. They're just trying to finish up and trying to get all their ducks in a row before they move forward on this. And, you know, speaking of ducks in a row, Jessica Miller, Central Services, talks about the last quarter of the legislative session, which aims to wrap up by May 5th. So we are in the final month, the final sprint to wrap up everything with our bills and everything that's happening in committees across Montana. So here is Jessica Miller.
One of the big bills, there were a lot of those bills that were introduced at the last minute there that were just immediately tabled in committee due to not really having enough time for the legislators to really examine them. One that is going through right now is Senate Bill 539, revising property taxes and special assessments, which could be very problematic for us on the way that they define things, and even some of our SIDs could be difficult to do in the future. That bill has passed the Senate already and has a hearing in the House tomorrow. House Bill 20, which is the one that requires voted levies to be in dollars rather than mills, has been transmitted to Governor Gianforte, and so that is on his desk awaiting a signature. House Bill 154 would have established a housing fairness tax credit. That one was tabled. Senate Bill 420, limiting local government fees for children's use of parks, had a hearing in the House last week, and so we are awaiting executive action in committee on that one. We're not sure if we'll be able to defeat that one or not at this point.
Okay, a big part of this, and just kind of a little bit of background and explanation when it comes to, especially the bill, the dollar number levy, and this is something to do a lot with, like, you want to, with bonds and things, and when you ask the taxpayer to fund some things, for everything like that, the state wanted to create a basically a flat line where there's like, here's a set amount of money, no matter what. This is how much money you need to make. But unfortunately, with how levies and bonds work, they work on an inflationary, how much money is made through tax revenues and percentages, and how much taxes have gone up are affecting these bonds and levies, so they don't go into some form of a deficit by doing so. And so this number levy, this is one of the reasons why the city was against it, because it's not flexible, it's pretty much set. And once they run out of the money, a lot of times these things they don't move forward. And also on this, the park fees, which is another big thing the city is against, was the idea that the state of Montana wanted to ban park fees. So, anybody who wanted to use public parks could use them, no holds bar, just, the people who live in the communities, their tax money goes to pay for them. And that seems pretty just broad in way of logic behind this bill, is roughly those who don't think that you should have to pay additional costs on parks, your tax money already pays for. However, these fees were put into place to keep up with the wear and tear of major tournaments and events, which require specialized services beyond just showing up. This requires Parks and Rec staff that you have to fund, and you have to pay for them to do these kinds of things. You have your basic maintenance, which already is lacking, and a lot of other places that used to have fairly robust amount of people have been basically spread thin. So it's interesting, and this is just one of those things that are just coming out of the state legislature, where they just want to figure out what they want to do with cutting a lot of costs, not to mention with the property tax information and the bills that are trying to pass as well. We're not going to talk too much about it, because as we wrap up, we're going to dive right into our committee meetings. But City Council was pretty straightforward on this. But as we go into this, the Committee of the Whole, this was more of a reports meeting. This is, the Committee of the Whole was roughly about how each City Council member gave a report on the various interests that they have within the city, their committees, and the organizations that they work with. And Mayor Andrea Davis talks about redistricting of wards, and how she feels as though that this doesn't, they don't want to redistrict wards every 2 years, is basically what she's going to be explaining. Here's Mayor Andrea Davis.
Up Missoula's had a practice to do this every 2 years. And state law and other communities around the state do it every 10 years. We're not necessarily suggesting we go there. This is definitely worth a conversation. But this happens in odd years. So every 2 years, on odd years, the city evaluates, basically using a pretty complex set of projections for population estimates, because obviously the census is used as the basis. So those census numbers are projected, and there's ways by which we go through that. But it's actually a fairly arduous process to determine the population sizes in each of the wards. And with the amount of work and staff time that is currently being deployed to the UDC, to the land use plan, and the code work that we're doing, we are suggesting that we skip this for this year and come back to that. And
So yeah, they're busy. They want to skip it. Why not? They don't have to, and they're over-explaining something they don't need to over-explain. And overall, the city is growing. Ward 2 happens to be one of the most dramatic changes in our population, with major development ongoing. And so far, the city has done this frequently with many different communities. And one of the reasons behind this is that they don't want to keep on taking from other neighborhoods and putting people in other places and confusing people every year or a couple of years happening when it comes to this. With Franklin to the Fort becoming part of the University District under council members Carlino and Jones, there's just been a lot of weirdness going on here as well. And Amber Sherrill, City Council, hates the minor tweaks that affect so many people in the city of Missoula.
And every time we've done it since I've been on council, I'm like, are we sure we're not moving someone in one ward and out of one ward and back in that ward? If you're on those ward lines, the tweaks, even though we try really hard to make sure people don't flip-flop, can be really, really subtle. And I actually know someone that has gone back and forth, so we haven't done it perfectly. But, you know, so to me, that has never made sense to do that as often as we do it.
That was Amber Sherrill. And, you know, it's just one of those days. And then as we move on, there's also much going on. Skipping some of these might be best. Ward Watch isn't necessarily must-watch TV, but as we're talking about my show, Eric Milson, the city from City Council, actually brings up MCAT in his report and his involvement with the MCAT group, which basically is the city advisory board for MCAT, the television channel that you're watching either on YouTube or here right now.
Generally, those meetings are about what programming MCAT covers and brainstorming ideas for future events that MCAT can cover, record, and televise. So we did a little bit of that. The MCAT has covered the Parking Commission board meetings, which have been really interesting. And they're also just covering a bunch of awesome events in town that otherwise wouldn't be accessible for folks, putting them on their YouTube channel and their Facebook channel. So for folks watching online, interested in what's going on in town, I'd encourage you to engage with MCAT and all of their awesome resources. Next.
All right, and you know, also one thing to note is that MCAT is kind of like the live-in historian for the city of Missoula. We archive many of the events that happen in and around the city of Missoula, including that rally that just happened. I have a clip I'm going to show you guys after my city council report. But you know, a nice shameless plug from MCAT. If you have a program or an idea that you want MCAT to shoot, we're going to be covering the Project Community Connect today. I'll be running around with a camera and interviewing some of the booths and asking them exactly what their organization does and how they're going to help house homelessness or help bring services to them as well. So we're going to jump right into housing redevelopment and community planning as they talk about removing daycare from the Rivara project, which is the, sorry, my nose is really itchy this morning. My hair is coming up on in my nose. But yeah, part of this is that they want to talk about that. But also, before we talk about that, I want to talk about community planning, as in terms of how the neighborhood grants is talking about upwards of $35,000 of funds to help improve neighborhoods. So Kalina Pritchard, neighborhood specialist, gave a presentation on this and talked about the neighborhood grants for fiscal year 2025.
Share those recommendations for you all and see these projects come to fruition. So the Energize Your Neighborhood Grant Program, also known as the Neighborhood Improvement Grant Program, was created to strengthen neighborhood participation and to help build opportunities for neighborhood communication, neighborhood-initiated projects, and problem solving. Each year, the City Council allocates $20,000 to the neighborhood projects. We can award projects up to $6,000. Projects must be within city limits and or benefit city residents and have lasting benefits. The project must be completed within a reasonable amount of time. We urge folks to attempt to get their projects done within a year or 18 months. This year, we had 7 grant applications submitted with a total of $34,327.51 requested.
And as you can see there, you know, traffic calming circles, you know, decorating, different kind of plots they want to put in there. Each request has a cap about $6,000, and so they try to diversify and try to get as much bang for their buck as they possibly can. Part of the money is for neighborhoods to come together and use these funds to mitigate blight and have improvements in their neighborhoods, whether traffic calming circles for intersections as little as bike parking infrastructure, to lock your bikes. Kalina also talks about the people behind these neighborhood councils and the people that, if you want to get involved with your own neighborhood and you know any of these people, these are the people that can help you get in contact with these grants and other subcommittees that are through these neighborhoods.
This is who consists of leadership team members from multiple different neighborhoods. But they are the ones who help us score the grants and then come up with these recommendations. So we had Claire Battaglia from Lewis and Clark, Danny Gunlock from Riverfront, Judy Mullen from Upper Rattlesnake, Jenny Nielsen from University District, Gracie Sanford from Lower Rattlesnake, Gabe Sather Olson from Northside Westside, Bill Watson from River Road, and Clint Whittle Frazier from Franklin and Fort. And we also have a city council ward representative that's involved with the subcommittee process too, and that's Jennifer Savage. We also, I guess I want to mention that we also have an internal grant scoring committee, and that's folks that consists of staff from CPDI, Parks and Recreation staff, and transportation staff that all look through these grant applicants to give us kind of the feasibility look, and like I had mentioned earlier.
All right. So the whole idea behind this is essentially to educate you on how to basically apply to these kinds of grants, to figure out, where the money goes and how you want to do this. Those names are folks who can help you advocate for those monies to be used to improve your neighborhoods. Mind you that this is not to replace costs for streets and sidewalks, but a robust system to improve the aesthetic of your community. Kalina also shows one of the 5 proposals that were approved featuring River Road and Franklin to the Fort neighborhoods, and this is what they had to say.
So our first project is the South 3rd Street crossing rectangular rapid flashing beacon. This is for the River Road and Franklin of the Fort neighborhoods. And this project is to enhance pedestrian safety and connectivity between River Road and Franklin of the Fort neighborhoods through installation of an RRFB, a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, at the intersection of South 3rd Street West and South Grant Street. This grant had a lot of powerful community support. There were 4 letters of support. One was from a resident from the Council Groves apartment who had a testimony of how this would benefit their day-to-day life. We also had letters of support from the River Road and the Franklin of the Fort leadership teams and the Franklin of the Fort Neighbors in Action. The scoring committee saw that the impact of this project would improve walkability, and they really loved that there would be matching funds from the Council Groves apartment building to fully fund this project. I think it's close to, it's $20,000 is their total budget, and Council Groves apartment would be filling the rest of those fundings. So the total budget was $20,000, and they asked for a grant of $6,000. The grant subcommittee has recommended full funding for this grant at $6,000. Oops, missed one. This next project is in the Lewis and Clark neighborhood and aims to install 4 large wooden planters in the Dearborn and Leicester traffic circle and plant low-growing and pollinator-friendly plants that will improve habitat and nesting sites while making the central island more conspicuous and clearly signaling to drivers that they cannot pass straight through, thereby improving safety.
And, one good example is if you've ever driven around the Bonner Park area in Missoula near the University District, they have a lot of these kind of planters where they have plants and stuff within the calming circles. And for those of you who don't know what a calming circle is, it's essentially just like a miniature roundabout that replaces the intersections. And, this is just one of those things, and I've been seeing a lot more of those popping up in random neighborhoods, just in back streets of, especially in the Franklin to the Fort neighborhood. I think I just noticed 2 new traffic calming circles that were just made out of just yellow, traffic diverting signals. So, while safety is one thing, it seems traffic circles have all sorts of fun tricks and designs for your neighborhood. And this is, let's see, where do I have? Oh, never mind. I already used part of that quote. There's, of course, examples of some of these neighborhood projects aims to bring a little flair to some of the more brutalism looking spaces in Missoula beyond just yellow traffic altering signage. Like I said, many city council spoke in favor of these items, totaling roughly the $35,000 with these 7 projects for the neighborhood grants. But of course, as we move on, we're going to talk with, we're going to show John Adams presenting a strategic, let me start over again. God, my transitions are just terrible today. I'm like, my notes are all over the place, and I'm just like, I was sick this week, and there's a lot going on. I only have a couple more things to talk about today. The next segment I'm talking about, as we move forward on the rest of the meeting, is John Adams, the Strategic Projects Administrator, is working on how they want to use the Rivar project in the lieu of the daycare. And so this is what he had to say about that.
Those 5 acres should house approximately 200 homes, a large central green space that will be shared with the CLT, the Community Land Trust residents, and 30,000 square feet of neighborhood commercial space, where they're looking at uses like a small grocery store, a co-working space, restaurants, and a coffee shop, and a daycare. And I just share this is one of the original conceptualizations, just to show you how we've long thought about how this development would play out with the Community Land Trust homes north of Charlotte, the workforce housing, and then the commercial development, the market rate development with both homes and commercial space south of there.
And essentially what you see here is the map of the Rivar project, which is that major north side neighborhood project. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to sound townhouses at market rates to help pay for a lot of these subsidized apartments and green spaces and other additional stuff. And their big push essentially is to have this space basically not have to have a requirement for daycare. And daycare was a plan that they had in place beforehand to move forward on many of the projects. You know, they were talking about a lot of dream and a lot of things that they wanted to be like, oh, this would be so cool if they had this. This would be cool if they had this. And they addressed the fact that they wanted to maybe even create like something through the Parks and Rec. And unfortunately, you know, think of it as they don't have the amount of use to justify having a daycare or hosting a Parks and Rec, quote unquote. Think of it as Campfire, which is a facility in the Franklin to the Fort neighborhood adjacent to that park that hosts youth programs through Parks and Rec. However, this could require more staff time and costs overall. And you know, John Adams talks about some of those challenges and, you know, one of the reasons behind they're wanting to waive the daycare requirements.
So at this point, the staff feel like Rivara made really good faith effort to provide the daycare space that we hope for, and then additional efforts to help the city explore building a space for Parks youth programming, and neither really work. And we're at the point where holding on to that requirement is hindering or hamstringing Rivara's ability to complete design and solve for financing on a market rate parcel. And so in turn, that means we're delaying or missing out on the other benefits that the project will deliver. So we think we need to let go of the daycare idea in order to get those 200 plus homes, green space for both the Community Land Trust and new residents of the commercial or market rate development, and then that 30,000 square feet of neighborhood commercial that will create a really valuable third space for the north side. So.
Yep. So, yeah, they're just gonna try to figure out a way so they can have at least a more robust clarity on being like, oh, we want more diversity on what we want to do with that site and not just have it set for one thing or another. And, you know, the potential business and services in the north side is unheard of, since many go downtown or uptown for many of those amenities that are not provided on the north side. You know, I don't mean to, like, you know, discredit or dismay, be like, it was like, dismiss north side. You know, they want to build a community, they want to build local stores and amenities so they can go walk to the shops that they need, leave, come back and do all those kind of stuff. But one of the reasons why they can't necessarily do daycare and all that kind of other stuff, because they did study the last couple of years, and MCPS has plenty of space for a lot of those kinds of services, which has made this frankly, a fruitless endeavor for any future daycare or after-school programs. And John Adams reflects on MCPS and just talks a little bit more about this.
Missoula County Public Schools expanded their after-school programs, their early literacy programs, and those programs are free. And so to the extent that Missoula families are able to, or their kids are able to access those programs, there was a big shift of school-age kids from paid daycare to the early literacy programs. So MCPS, I mean, all to the good, kind of sucked up some of that demand. And then simultaneously, Rivara had been working with a potential provider to operate the daycare space who, as a result of those Missoula County Public School changes, found that they had gone from a wait list at their existing facility to surplus capacity at their existing facility. I'll let Kai correct me if I have some of that story wrong, but basically those changes just resulted in a much less demand for school-age daycare.
All right, so that was John Adams wrapping up that segment on why the Rivara wanted to waive their what's that called? Their request to have a daycare on the north side, and especially within this facility. But if you think about it like this, if they create those kind of like spaces to have those kinds of things anyways, even more office spaces, opportunities for businesses to be in there, perhaps there's a future for a daycare without the idea of just strictly being a daycare. So free roughly means that they want to have our tax system help pay for some of those services, and frankly, creating a space that is not needed shouldn't require a specific category to make this development move forward with those risks. The city voted in favor of basically staving off a daycare for this. If anything, this could be an opportunity for other robust projects. So, you know, isn't city fun? And my city council was rough this morning, but I have a clip for you guys held by the rally of the Hands Off rally last Saturday, courtesy of our cinematographer and general manager, Joel Baird. And this is one of the speakers at the rally. And so I'm going to show you this video, and when I come back, we're going to talk about some movies.
Oh, Missoula! It's great to see so many people out here expressing their First Amendment rights. Thank you all for showing up. My name is Chase Hakes, and I'm here on behalf of the ACLU of Montana. You know, just over a week ago, I was running across this very lawn to hand deliver a hard copy of the lawsuit filing that the ACLU of Montana and Legal Voice prepared, challenging HB 121. And I'm pleased to share that we've secured a temporary restraining order on it, and we're not stopping. Speech is a core American value protected by the First Amendment, but today that right is under attack in ways we cannot afford to ignore. Across the country, we are witnessing increasing efforts to silence dissent, whether through laws restricting protest, book bans in schools, or attempts to control what can be said in classrooms and on college campuses. Take, for example, Mahmoud Khalil and Ramesa Ozturk, activists who, after speaking up, are now being detained by ICE. Even here in Montana, we've seen legislative efforts that undermine our state constitution and democracy itself, with vicious attacks on our judicial system, invasions of privacy, and attempts to strip away fundamental rights. Lawmakers have proposed legislation that would enshrine a religious figure as a king, legalize bullying against those who use pronouns aligning with their identity, and erode the rights of indigenous communities. This is not just a legal issue, it's a direct threat to democracy. Free speech allows us to challenge injustice, hold leaders accountable, and push for meaningful change. When the government decides whose voice can be heard, we all lose. So, what can we do? First, know your rights. The First Amendment protects your ability to speak freely in public spaces, like you all are doing today. Protest peacefully, like we're all doing today. And express your views without government interference. If your rights are violated, document it and report it. Second, speak up. Contact your legislators. Demand they protect free speech, not suppress it. Show up at town halls, testify during committee hearings at the Capitol, either in person or in Zoom, write letters, and challenge policies that limit expression. Third, support organizations fighting for free speech. The ACLU of Montana, along with many others, is on the front line defending these rights. But we need your voices. We need your advocacy and your action. Silence is not an option. Free speech belongs to all of us, and together we must ensure it remains strong, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. Thank you.
So there is a little taste of the hands-off protest in Missoula that happened last Saturday. So we're going to jump right in. We're going to talk about some movies that are coming out this weekend. It's time for Pre-Critic, where I prejudge a movie based on absolutely nothing but my biases towards movies in general. As we kick things off, we have, yet another war movie that's coming out. This one is going back to the war in Iraq. Welcome back to Iraq, as we follow soldiers fighting and being pinned inside an apartment complex. Through urban warfare, this recounts the time where a whole bunch of Navy SEALs got in way over their head, and only a few were able to tell their stories. This movie is directed by the guy who did Ex Machina, so you know it's going to be a real bummer. He made all those kinds of bummer movies and that make you think, and this movie probably ends with, war sucks. But we did the best we could for what we got there. Watch another Hollywood restyling of a war that many people can agree was probably not a good idea. Then we got The Amateur. Mr. Robot and Mr. Morpheus team up for this movie about someone being the best at what others do for the first time. So this is a rogue agent with nothing else to lose to get his wife back. He's a data analyst. He works on computers. How can he be a spy? But when a person you thought was helping them turns out to be the bad guy, then things get real crazy. Watch your typical Cloak and Dagger spy thriller as this wannabe Jason Bourne Mission Impossible void is left since Amazon bought James Bond and will probably ruin it or make it too simplified for major theatrical consumption, just like the Jack Reacher, Jack Ryan shows of the world. So, and then as we move on, we got Drop. Uber eats your heart out as we have a strange package that needs to get delivered before it's too late. I assume this hapless protagonist is caught in a major financial crunch and takes a job to make things go but things go way over her head. But overall, she is simply just going on a date, and then she gets bombarded with a bunch of threatening texts to tell her to do things before it's too late, thinking that the guy in front of her is possibly doing it, but maybe probably not. But most likely, since the trailer coded it to be the guy, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the guy that she's on a date with, who's the evil guy in the whole time. And then everyone thinks she's crazy until they find out that she wasn't crazy to begin with, and everyone's like, oh, sorry about that. But at the time, that's basically what this thriller movie looks to be. The King of Kings, an animated movie about the telling of Jesus in the words of Charles Dickens' attempt to explain Jesus to his son. Dickens is made into a narrative device in telling a story to a kid's 3D uncanny animation with big heads and skinny bodies. So it's kids movie meant to retell the story of Jesus Christ, his impact in the world through Charles Dickens' talking head. Then we jump right into the last one, which is a documentary. We're a year or so off from the major Beatles biopic in extended universe, essentially, because they're making a whole bunch of Beatles documentaries starting in 2026, 2027. But making this Yoko documentary will get off the producers back long enough to make something great with little to no Yoko, I assume. And this one is roughly a documentary in the settings of 1972 when the Beatles are long over and John and Yoko are making music, but mostly, kind of doing political advocacy for peace, which resulted in John Lennon being shot in the 1980s. Overall, this is a decade where where most people were too worried about their lives in the 1970s to care about the Beatles, and especially Yoko Ono. But this documentary will probably make the case that she wasn't the cause of the split, but she sure didn't help keep them together. There we go. And then up next we have, I would have Dublin stuff for you guys, but this week I was very sick and I was not feeling motivated to do so. And heck, even today, I'm just so fatigued and so drained for this whole entire week already. I'm just waiting for this week to be over, to be perfectly honest. So we're going to throw to some fun videos by those kids of our spring break camps and beyond. Here is a bunch of clips for you guys to enjoy.
There's nothing to do. Already beat like every level of Candy Crush, Mario, all those games. Now I cannot find anything to do. I'm so bored. You know what? I'm trying to spin until I can think of something. Spinning is pretty fun. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Am I flying? Hold on.
A montage, gonna do a montage, gonna have a fun montage, learning to spin on a chair, yeah, gonna spin on the chair, yeah, gonna spin on the chair, yeah, working out, getting strong, this is a montage about spinning on chairs, spinning on chairs, spinning on chairs.
Ready to start flying. Okay, here we go. I'm doing it! Whoa! How did you do that? Well, I mean, if you just spin really fast, you just start going up. Do you want to try? Can you teach me first? I mean, sure, it does take a little bit of practice, but I can teach you. Okay, teach me how to fly. Okay.
Yeah, it's a montage. Gonna do a montage. Gonna have a fun montage. Learning to spin on a chair, yeah. Gonna spin on the chair, yeah. Gonna spin on the chair, yeah. Working out, getting strong. This is a montage about spinning on chairs. Spinning on chairs. Spinning on chairs. Spinning on chairs.
I'm flying. What the heck? What? Oh my god, I didn't flip. Oh, nice job. Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, okay, it's my turn now.
Breaking news.
Today, 2 guys were shot down by the military thinking that they were drones from China. It was really devastating because it was 2 of our own people that just learned how to fly a different aircraft. It appears that we'll never know how to fly in spinning chairs again.
Hey guys, I just found this really great game. It takes no Wi-Fi, it's completely free to download, there's no in-game purchases, and it's actually like all the ads say it is. Check it out. Okay, so I just started the game. There's so many fun levels. Okay, let's buy that, and yes, okay, I got him. Let's keep going, Come on. Okay, so the goal of the game is to try to stay alive as long as possible. So that's what I'm gonna try to, oh, dang, I lost. Download today and see if you can do better.
Robots! Fighting the evil Skellymen.
You never steal our Bubble Hill, Skellyman. I will take over the Bubble Hills. Go, robots!
MCAT Animation Drop-In Workshops every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. located in the Missoula Public Library, 455 East Main Street.
I'll get you next time, robots. Next time!
Go, robots!
All right, we're back. Let's talk about some events that are happening in the Missoula area. Like I said before, Project Community Connect has started this morning. They're going to be kicking off at 10 a.m. to about 3 p.m. Project Community Connect, formerly known as Project Homeless Connect, is a service event that happens annually in Missoula for the last 16 years. This event is scheduled to be here in the Missoula Public Library. It is designed to provide core service and hospitality to community members who are at risk of becoming unhoused, currently experiencing homelessness, or want to use who are resource insecure. So, you know, you want to have an arsenal, you want to have a tool, you want to have a Swiss Army knife of homeless prevention. The many community providers and organizations are coming together and demonstrating broad community support to help meet neighbors' basic needs while they work towards obtaining stability, all in a safe, welcoming, and stigma-free environment. Missoula has a lot of organizations in Missoula beyond just Project Community Connect that helps people with various other things as well. As we move on, Swan Valley Storytime in the Steely Swan High School. They have their own story time at 11 a.m. this morning. They do it for fun. They usually do it Wednesday mornings, but it looks like it's their schedule for this morning. And then we got the lunch on the Missoula Senior Center. This is a daily occurrence from Monday through Friday, starting at 11:30 a.m. for seniors looking to get some food and also civic community with others just like them. Watercolor and yarns every Friday at 12 noon on the 4th floor of the Missoula Public Library. Unfortunately, that is probably going to be canceled because Project Community Connect is going to be taking over all levels of the library, especially on the 1st floor and the 4th floor for many of those booths as well. They also are going to be doing all sorts of fun things with, even if you, I think last year they had haircuts for folks as well. From Scratch Series, Basic Foods, Lifelong Learning Center is if you're looking to make food from scratch and looking for cheap ways and wondered how to make salad dressing, ketchup, mayonnaise, brown sugar, and other kitchen staples from scratch, it's simpler than you may think. This class is through the Lifelong Learning Center, and this is a great opportunity for people to do a cost one class and then just learn. You can get you'll get help from the certified nutritional health coach for this new and exciting classroom series that will teach you how to make an assortment of kitchen staples from start to finish. Exhibition at the Radius Clay Works called Beginnings. So Radius Gallery is hosting Beginnings. It's an opening of their new show, and you can chat with the artists and connect with local art lovers and enjoy refreshments on this gorgeous art-filled atmosphere. So they're doing this at 5 p.m. In lieu of what would have been First Friday. Beginnings, this is happening from April 1st to May 24th. It looks like it's going to be going on the Ceramics Monthly Artist of the Year featuring Deb Shabotskoff. And is the founder and co-founder of 2 ceramic centers, Creative Pottery and the Ceramics Monthly, and known as 2019's Artist of the Year. And so they'll be in from 5 to 7 p.m. tonight at the Radius Gallery, or Radius Clayworks, which is the extension of Radius Gallery. Beethoven under the Stars Platinum, Beethoven Under the Stars Planetarium Show, that's a mouthful, at the University of Montana Payne Center. Explore the night skies and discover the Milky Way galaxy while enjoying the music of Beethoven, and they also have a 7 p.m. show as well. Elks Lodge is hosting the Missoula Folklore Society Contra Dance, a techno night at the Old Beck VFW at 7 p.m. Cacao ceremony. We had all full moon stuff happening, so they always do a cacao ceremony around that time. Heidi Eldridge, they're doing a reading and signing at the Missoula Art Museum, and they're a poet, and they're doing a recent collection is Verb Animate, which is from 2024. Her honors include National Poetry Series Award, Native Arts and Culture Foundation Fellowship, a lot of other things. So let's see here. Hyde is an enrolled member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa. An independent scholar and curator, Hyde was the 2024 inaugural Minneapolis Poet Laureate. In 2025, Hyde is the James Welch Visiting Professor at the University of Montana currently. Student night at University of Montana. They're doing a dress rehearsal. This is at the Massacre Theater. This is part of their main thing called Verdi's Requiem. Behind the scenes of the amazing guest artists, symphony musicians, and choral members put on finishing touches to the performance of one of the most dramatic and moving works in classical repertoire. Dan Dubarque is going to be at Cranky Sam Public House. He's going to be slapping the steel guitar. Karaoke at the Jack Saloon at 7 p.m. Metamorphosis is going to be at the Massacre Theater. The UM Theater and Dance will be doing their own thing somewhere else, but Metamorphosis is at the Massacre Theater, and this is basically told through history began in ancient Greece. Mary Zimmerman brings his stories to life in a large pool of water, a metaphor that is the cosmos of forever changing, whether calm as a lake or violent as a typhoon. The perils of Midas's greed, the dedication between Orpheus and Eurydice, even in death, the divine of rewards, the kindness to strangers, and many stories are explored in this unique and beautiful production at the Massacre Theater all weekend long. 7:30 performances with a matinee on Sundays. Matt Mitchell, Black Work Railroad, is going to be playing some rock music at Monk's tonight at 8 p.m. Union is going to be hosting the Tomcats at 9 p.m. Booty Juice at the Top Hat is going to wrap up your Friday night at the Top Hat playing some funk music. And then as we're getting closer and closer to the Farmers Market, outdoor market in the downtown Missoula area, you can still enjoy the Winter's Market at the Southgate Mall, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. every Saturday. Archery Basics, the Barn at Teller. You can learn the history of archery, discover the 11 steps to The 11 steps to success, practice your aim, target shooting, and get tips on how to pick up a bow that is right for you. There's also going to be a fun run on Saturday morning at 9:30 at Silver Park. They're always having some kind of fun run at Silver Park using the trails, Kim Williams, or otherwise. UM Admitted Student Day at the University of Montana. So if you're interested in going to the University of Montana, UM had an Admitted Student Day starting at 10 a.m. This is the opportunity to start building community at the University of Montana, explore all resources and opportunities available to you, and experience campus life. There's also going to be a breast brunch cancer awareness fundraiser. This is going to be happening at the North Uri Underground Lecture Hall at the University of Montana from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's a free public education event that includes a delicious brunch, breakfast taco bar, and beverages, silent auctions, items, and raffle prizes for the amazing local business and guest speakers. Learn about prevention, signs and symptoms, screenings, and resources for various types of cancer. And that's happening on around the same time in the same area as the University of Montana's Student Day. Line dance in the Missoula Senior Center every Saturday at 10 a.m. Poetry Month workshop at the Fact and Fiction Confluence Center. The Montana Poet Laureate Mark Gibbons, he's the past Montana Poet Laureate. In this class, you'll read and discuss animal odes before using your beloved pets, wild creatures encounters, or neighborhood crows as inspiration to pen your own poem. MCT's BB Bobodi Bash is going to be at Missoula Children's Theater, and there's royalty fun morning for it, wear your favorite costumes, meet special characters from Cinderella and other classics, creating memorable crafts, and dance with your friends during the fun morning. This is from 10 to 11 or 11:30 to 12:30 on Saturday, April 12th, and you can purchase your tickets. It looks like it's going to be a costume party. Peonies and Roses, peonies. my bad. It's about flowers, peonies, all sorts of stuff. Karis Nursery is doing another seminar at 11 a.m. on Saturday, and you can learn how to brighten up your yard and cover planting techniques, watering, fertilization tips, and sunlight needs. Handbags and bingo. Hilton Garden Inn is hosting a major thing in their convention center area space. This is the ultimate ladies' afternoon for a great cause. Grab your friends, mark your calendar, and get ready for an unforgettable day with purpose. Teen Open Studio at the Missoula Art Museum at 12:30 on Saturday. This is for young artists to get supplies and get resources through the Missoula Art Museum to where they give back to the community and try to inspire teens to create art. MCAT Saturday drop-ins. This is a thing that we do every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. Kids get to do stop animation, make movies, and have fun along the way. Montana Repertory Theater, First Reads, Missoula Public Library is hosting the Montana Repertory Theater at 2 p.m. They're going to be reading 3 contemporary plays. This rep is considering 4 full productions. And so the Montana Repertory Theater picks a play, and then they travel around the state, and then they go out into the country and show their acting prowess to the world. Knife and tool sharpening workshop at the Missoula Urban Demonstration Project. You learn the ins and outs of tool sharpenings, whetstones. This is an incredible journey, that valuable skill that will help you have, and you'll find more approachable things than you think. Miles Waquan to learn is teaching how to properly maintain your kitchen and hunting knives, as well as pruners, loopers, lopers, axes, and more. Makerspace, Adreno for everyone. This class is for anyone interested in Adreno hardware and software. This is commonly used in robotics and other control devices here at the Missoula Public Library on Saturday at 3 p.m. 10 spaces only, and any age can attend, but 10 is recommended. Live music at the Jive, live music at the Trough, and the music and the people and the band is called the Jive, and they're going to be hosting live music every Saturday until the end of the month. And this is from 4 to 6:30 p.m. Yep, it's the Trough. It's just a music night that they're hosting there. House night at the VFW Old Beck, featuring Blackwood Beats Live, playing some electronic DJ music. Top Hat is going to be featuring Top House, not Top Hat, Top House, as that's going to be at the Wilma Theater, and they're going to be playing some bluegrass music at 7 p.m. Country music at the North Lights Band at the Jack Saloon at 7 p.m. Cinderella Ball at the Missoula Children's Theater. This is more of what they're talking about for the fundraiser for the Missoula Children's Theater to support mission of growing and enriching the community they serve worldwide through performing arts. And so also they're doing electronic music, Distinct Motive, Raz, and Substance. She's playing some electronic music at Monks at 8 p.m. Karaoke at the Westside Lanes at 9 p.m. Uncle Funk is going to be at Union Club. DJ Chris Moon is going to be wrapping up your Saturday at 10 p.m. as always. Butterfly Meditation open hours on Sunday if you want a quiet hour from 9 to 10 p.m. 9 to 10 a.m. Butterfly Meditation at Missoula Butterfly House. Missoula Adult Fast Pitch Association Field Cleanup Day. So if you're interested in doing any kind of help with the teams and building your own league here in Missoula, good opportunity to meet members of the league and those interested in playing or entering a team for Missoula adult sports leagues. Visions of Lewis and Clark Kite Exhibit, Travelers Rest State Park at 1 p.m. They're doing a collection of artist kites inspired by Lewis and Clark expedition at the Travelers Rest, and there's over 30 kites, which each ones include imagery of indigenous tribes, the land, and historic events from the expedition. Excuse me. Spring session, Sunday afternoon, beginning pottery at the Clay Studio of Missoula at 1 p.m. On Sunday, Get Lit. This is the Pain Savvy Health Literacy. Come learn about health literacy classes to learn the strategies for preventing and overcoming persistent pain, like this cough. Sometimes you just got to let it out. Times are approximate, and participants are welcome to walk as much or as little as they like to. And it's at 1 p.m. They do this most Sundays at the Missoula Public Library. Missoula Children's Theater is also hosting a 50 tour, which is Alex Ramon Magic Show. This is a free magic show starting at 1 p.m. at the Missoula Children's Theater area. An accordion club at the Senior Center every Sunday at 1 p.m. And then the Zootown Arts Community Center is hosting Diversity Day through Empower Montana's youth program, community building, creative resistance, table activities, and speakers talking about the importance of diversity. And then wrapping up your Sunday is comedy at the VFW, and karaoke at the Sunrise Saloon to wrap up everything that you need to know. And although I did say I was talking a little bit about a levy that the MCPS is proposing, they want to increase the budget a little bit more with the operational levy of $384,000 and an operational levy of $164,000, and they want to put the ballots out pretty soon, and they'll be turned in by the mid-May. So a lot going on in Missoula. And for Wake Up Missoula, I'm Scott Ramp. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend.